Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Drew, are you there?
Oh. I'm sliding in, mate.
My goodness.
Oh,
what are you wearing?
Mate, I've got. I just look at that. There we go.
Apologies to anyone not watching, but I will do my best to describe for our loyal listeners your what can only be described as sort of like 80s rap parachute pants. I mean,
mate, they are Nepalese harem trousers with elephants on.
I mean, so my description was quite cutting, but actually didn't even
come close.
No. Wow. I assume that's something to do with the fact that we are melting yet again. We are graced with some amazing something's weather. Come over the channel to us that we actually wanted, which is the heat from Spain, as opposed to our unwelcome guest all those months ago.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not that they are I've made that sound like it came from Europe. We know it did. But you know what I mean? I'm talking rubbish already. We're what, 30 seconds in. Anyway, please, back to your trousers.
My trousers are light and cottony and airy for this very warm weather, as you say, has come from España, apparently, according to the meteorologists.
And according to said same, is disappearing just as quickly this weekend, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, enjoy it, mate, because it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
That was the summer. Boom,
yeah. You know. This is your one opportunity to get those trousers out, and
that's it. Yeah, I've got a 24-hour window, and after that's gone.
Dear, oh dear. Anyway, how are you, mate? Good to see you.
I'm very well, thank you, Sam. I'm very well. I've had a lovely week, and since I saw you and worked with you last, which was lovely. Yeah. So I've what have I been up to? Oh, I had on Monday. You know, I told you that little thing I was writing about the character that I was writing for the Concert Artists Association, or the Club for Artists and Actors. It's a club that I belong to in Bedford Street in Covent Garden, and every month there is just a concert night. All the members come along, or as many members as want to come along, and you know, members do a show, and it's usually three or four acts on. And the last Monday's show was presented by Verona, and she invites people to come on and do the show. And she invited me, and I performed a character that I had in mind for a long time, but I'd never really put together, a character called Vauxhall Victor, who is, I suppose he's like the style of, remember Walker in Dad's Army?
Yeah.
He's a kind of, he's a sort of, not a spibs as such, but you know, he makes his own luck, shall we say?
A wide boy.
A bit of a wide boy, yeah. And he's harmless, fun, lovely character. I hope. But in that character, it was a little bit of stand up, and I did a handcuff escape that I used to do years ago. So escape from a pair of handcuffs, assisted by a couple of audience members. And I hadn't done it for a long time. I hadn't done it so I did a quick practice, and I thought, no, I still remember it. But I hadn't done it with this spiel, this chatter. So thankfully, it worked really well. We had a nice night. I had some nice comments.
Yeah.
And I've been asked to do the character again a couple of other evenings. So I was very, very pleased.
Oh,
so that was my highlight of the week. After that, it's just been learning lines.
Yeah, standard.
But, you know,
or is it?
That was me.
Yeah. So, I've had an incredibly busy week actually.
Good.
So I put my reviewer's hat back on and went to see a lovely musical called Bat Out of Hell, which I very much enjoyed. So check out my review on that if you'd like to, on Dress Circle Antics. And then I've had a couple of important meetings, various things leading up to hopefully a decent period of filming.
Good.
But mainly, mate, I've been preparing for our lovely guest this week, who just so happens to be waiting to be let in right now. So he is sat in our waiting room.
Good
and
Lord.
This is someone who I haven't seen for a long time, and I'm very excited to be able to catch up with him. And I know he's going to be a superb guest because he's got some amazing things to talk about. So I would say there's no reason to wait. Surely we should let him straight in and let's crack on.
I'm with you, Sam. Let's do it.
Brilliant. Here he comes. And there he is, joining us live and in the flesh, Mr. Samuel Quested. What an honour it is to have you with us, mate, and brilliant to see you. It's been forever.
I know, it has been a while, yes. God, I don't know. How many years is that? 8 years, maybe? It's been a while.
2015? Something like that, I think.
What's my math on that? Yeah, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah. But and Drew, meet Sam.
Hello, Sam. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you. It has literally been forever for me. But thanks very much for joining us. It really is lovely to meet you and lovely to have you on the show. Brilliant
Thanks
stuff.
for having me.
No, not a problem. So for those people out there who are not honoured enough to have met you or have heard of you previously, can you please explain to all our lovely listeners and viewers exactly who you are and what you do?
My name's Sam Quested. I am a general manager for a production company based in London. The production company produces live theatre, whether that's musicals, plays, and that's either touring internationally or in the West End. And we also produce live concerts as well, which vary from Broadway stars or our own homegrown talent. So I'm the general manager for the whole company. I look after the whole company in various ways. And I've been there for 4.5 years now.
But this is not something that has come about just out of nothing. So you are also a performer yourself, director, producer. You've dabbled in a little bit of everything over the years.
I have, yeah. I mean, it all started like most people in this industry, is that you always want to start off as a performer. That's why I started off way back in 2009. To 2012, I went to the University of Winchester and I studied their course there, which actually kind of then led me into directing. So obviously I was an avid performer. I did all the school shows, all that sort of stuff. But I just fell into the world of directing, and then roll on finishing university, then created like my own production company, like Amdram production company, and put on like shows in Winchester down in the Hampshire region, and then literally just from doing that managed to then get the contacts that I had, and then I ended up doing various projects from there, which then led to where I am now.
Nice.
Is it I was going to say, you say we all kind of do start off as performers. Is there any one place your heart lies, or is it the variety that motivates you? Is you think, I love the variety, shuffling the cards and wearing the different hats?
Yeah, I mean, I've literally constantly been told a lot of the time, and now I kind of use this as my own thing. I am literally a jack of all trades, master of none, though. I can do a bit of everything. No. I mean, I've really enjoyed my kind of like career path and where it's led me, because it's led me to do some amazing things. So I am very, very fortunate, very grateful for the opportunities. And, I think it is one of those things that you do really have to be in the right place at the right time. And the hard work does pay off. It does pay off.
Good man.
So I am proud for where I am now. Yeah. To say that.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. You say you joined DLAP, the production company you're with at the moment, 4 years ago. And I've got to ask, because in the middle of those 4 years, we had the unwelcome guest, which was a difficult time for all of us. That's when Sam and I started Drewling Samantics. And as a production company, I mean, A, how did that hit you? And B, we always, Sam and I say, we're coming out of it now, we're getting work and it seems to be getting better. But from a production side of things, how is that recovery going? Is it easy? Is money hard to find? Well, it's always hard to find, but I mean, how do you see the recovery going?
I mean, this is quite an interesting one. So basically, we had a tour that was out at the time. We were touring the musical Curtains, which was starring Jason Manford, Aurea Duba. We had a lovely cast. It was a beautiful show. And we had actually 4 weeks left of the tour. And we were at the Leicester Haymarket. And then when we got the call happened on the Monday. We actually had a show that evening. And then we literally pulled the rest of the tour. And it was pretty catastrophic. I mean, losing 4 weeks of venues. I mean, it just, obviously, because none of us have ever experienced this scenario. So no one was ever well prepared or knew really what to do. So we kind of just had to cancel the whole tour. We closed it there and then. And then we then basically, unfortunately laid off a company of around about 40 people, which is very, very hard to do. But yeah, so that happened, and then obviously nothing happened really for 16 months really for us. I mean, for me, this sounds really, really selfish, and I don't want people to hate me, but when the unfortunate event happened and the pandemic started under lockdown, all that horrible words that we don't like to say anymore, for me, it actually felt like a bit of a sabbatical, because I actually was able to have release from a job that's obviously very, very stressful. And for me, it was actually good to rejuvenate and get myself back again, have that time off from, a very stressful industry. But just answering your question, Drew, it is still not where it used to be years ago. The touring market regionally has been affected quite drastically. There are a lot of shows out there that are still struggling, including one of our shows that we have on tour. It's not doing the sales and ticket sales that it used to, but we're biding our time on it and staying strong and keeping it going. But it's basically the smaller shows which are suffering, which is basically the weekly touring shows. For instance, if you have your Les Mis, your Lion King, those shows do, sometimes 6 to 8 weeks in one venue. And they do fine. I think it's because of the titles. People are still not wanting to take the risk. The ticket sales are still low, and the actual age bracket of people buying tickets is much lower, because the older generation still, to this day, aren't wanting to venture out as much as they used to. So yeah, it's still, we're in a much better place now, don't get me wrong. We opened Rock of Ages, which was one of our shows, was currently on tour last year, which was still very much in the mix of the pandemic. There was still, we were worried about whether we were going to have to go down to 50% capacity, all these constraints, which, for touring shows can actually make or break. So, it has been tough. We are getting there. The West End, is booming. It's now picking back up to where it used to be. The tourist market shot back up by 60% from figures that we've seen recently.
Wow.
So, it's now starting to get back to its usual busy self. The only thing is, what we are noticing, that people aren't buying tickets until nearer the time now. So the advanced ticket sales are way, 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 way lower than they ever were before.
Yeah, I think it's something shows that Sam and I have been involved in, certainly some of the things I've been involved in. And a show I've got coming up in Brighton is you can see the advanced sales. No, people are not willing to put their money into a ticket until the very last moment, which makes budgeting, a nightmare, and being, and you say being able to tour, that's just a nightmare for touring shows. But
yeah, touring shows, and the thing as well, what people, as a little insight, basically what happened was with Equity is that they had frozen their rates. So the rates were frozen, and they have been since so it's basically the same rates that were in 2019, 2020, and nothing's increased. So for actors and technical staff, all that sort of, it's actually really difficult, because the rates are low and not increased as they would have normally have done, but everything else around them has increased. If you're touring, living away allowance is rocketed. It is ridiculous, but the touring allowance, there's a little bit more work to do on that, especially to protect the company. Anyway, it's been difficult for actors, but they're managing through. But I think things will probably change as of next year, I would imagine.
Yeah. So speaking of sort of looking to the future and things improving and stuff, and you've mentioned that Rock of Ages is one of the tours you've got going on at the moment. Give us a sort of an overview of what else you're currently managing, what else the company are producing, and what you got coming up as well.
And what we're coming up. So currently, as of today, we have Rock of Ages currently on tour, and that's running. We had our first leg last year. We're now doing our second leg this year, where we run till we started in April. We finish in this leg in July, and then we have a little break, and then we start again in the autumn, and then that runs from January 2023 all the way through to July 2023. With some really great venues, really good dates. And, you know, we're thinking that 2023 will be the great leg of the tour. And then on top of that, I have Bonnie and Clyde in the West End. That's at the Arts Theatre. This was a big risk for us because it was a show that was a huge flop on Broadway. I believe it only did 34 preview performances, didn't even make it to press night. And then that was the end of it. Yeah. And it was weird because it's one of those shows that then just gained this weird cult following. And you know, my execs have sat on the rights for nearly 6 years, and we've just been trying to find a venue and for people to take the show, but people were just quite wary of the show. And then what happened basically was earlier this year in January, we put on a 10-year anniversary concert of the production at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, which was starring Jeremy Jordan, who was the original Clyde on Broadway. And we brought him over, and we basically sold out 2 shows at the Drury Lane in a matter of about 7 minutes, which is one of their fastest selling like one-nighters that they've ever had. So that showed to us that there was a huge hunger for this show, and people really, really wanted to see it. And then in doing that, that's when we were lucky enough to basically the Arts they had a space, and they were like, look, we've got this, you know, slot, do you want to fill it? And actually worked perfect for us because it's like a tryout for us. I mean, the show's beautiful. I think it's Frank Wildhorn and Don Black's, I think it's like their best work. And you know, we are now in our final 4 weeks of the run, and we are now just hoping potentially that there may be a transfer. I can't say much more because I actually don't have the answers. But you know, we're all, you know, fingers crossed that something good comes of it, because it's gone absolutely bonkers. You know, I mean, the Arts were you know, it's 360 seats a night. We're pretty much sold out most nights, and you know, it was a 13-week run, and we're really, really happy with the show. So that's currently what we have on now. But what we have coming up is we actually have quite a few concerts. So on the side of DLAP Group, we actually run another company called 44 Live, which is the concert company that I was explaining about earlier. And we have Jessica Vosk, actually, that's coming in July the 17th. She was one of the Elphabas on Broadway. She's done various things. She's an incredible,
very talented lady.
Very talented lady. And then the big thing we got is we're bringing back Jeremy Jordan for another solo concert at Theatre Royal Drury Lane. One performance already sold out, and there's like just a few remaining tickets for the second one. But this is a new show that he's done, and this will be my 3rd concert with him, which is great, which is really, really good. So that's coming up as well. The other really, really big thing is, I am allowed to say this, but we are developing the musical adaptation of the movie Burlesque, which is the one that was starred Christina Aguilera, Cher, all that sort of stuff. And we've got an amazing team involved in that. We literally just did our first ever table read in LA in mid-May, which went down a storm. It was great. I mean, it's only Act 1, but it's good. We're getting there. I mean, we got a great creative team tied to it. We have Jerry Mitchell, who's directing choreography, and we then have Todrick Hall, who's assisting with lyrics and music, who's also working alongside Elliot Davis. And then we also have the original screenwriter, Stephen Anton, who's also writing the book. So, you know, as collaborators, we've got some insane names, and it's going to be a biggie for us. It's going to be a real big show, big show.
No, it was a great movie as well. So it's got a great pedigree.
I must admit, it's very different from the movie, which I think is the right.
That's
move
good.
For us.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, it's going back to the Bonnie and Clyde thing, because that was such a successful movie, but that nobody really wanted to touch that originally as a film. It took some time before that actually got developed, and it took the actors to get it on, you know. But it does develop, as you say, it's one of those things that you go, and then suddenly it's got that huge cult following. So, you know, I'm sure Burlesque hasn't got the factor, but it's got that wow factor.
Yeah, it's got that Broadway feel. I think that's what we like about it. I think it's kind of like the essence of like Moulin Rouge. That's kind of out. It's that really stylish, sexy, raunchy, but also quite dirty and gritty as well. But yeah, I think that's going to be an exciting one. It's still, like I said, it's well in development. We don't aim for it to basically, just to give you insight to that, is that it's basically starting in America first. It's not touching the UK store for ages, because we're developing out in America. We've already got the roots of where we're going, Pavement Playhouse, all that sort of stuff. Then hopefully into Broadway. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting one.
Brilliant. So real exciting and sort of dream world of what's coming up. But if you were to be given an opportunity to now, and I mean, taking sort of the general manager aside, looking at directing, looking at producing, is there a show that you kind of have your sights set on one day? Do you have certain directions that you really want to go?
I mean, directing is something that I've really put on the back burner. It was something that I experienced. I love what I did. I think it was one of the things I found a new love within the industry, and aside, that's something that I was unsurprisingly fairly good at. So, I mean, if there was a show I'd produce, that's another question. And what would that show be? God, I wouldn't even know where to start. There's titles after titles of what I think would be a great musical or a great play or anything. I don't know. I really don't know that question.
Let's mix it up then. So of everything you've worked on, is there something that stands out? Is there something in particular that just, of all the shows, is just one that you still think back and go, wow?
Okay, so let's go back. Okay, if it was my directing, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Spring Awakening. I mean, that was my first ever directing kind of like experience. I did that at university. There's something about that show which I just adore. I mean, the music is unbelievable, but it's the story that really gauged my complete interest in wanting to do that piece. But the thing is with that show is that I actually saw a version of it on Broadway, and it was by Deaf West. And I've seen Spring Awakening various times. So the London version, I've seen the Amjam version, I've seen touring versions. But there was this one version on Broadway that I'd seen, which blew my mind. You know when you think you've seen a show and you know the show inside out? No, it completely changed every aspect I had about that show. But I mean, do you know what? If I was ever to produce, I would do that show. And you know what I would do is I would do that version. I would get that version over in the UK so the UK audience can witness what I had seen, because it changed my mind. So yes, actually, if there was a show, it would be that.
Yeah.
It's a funny one, Spring Awakening, because it turns up all the time, doesn't it? I mean, so many people go, "Oh, I did Spring Awakening." Oh, I did. It's a show that it's a funny thing, because it's done so often in so many different ways, and everybody has a very fond memory of it. I've not done the show, but I've seen it so many times, and friends of mine have worked on it, you know, directed, produced, whatever, and it pops up and they go, "I love that show."
Yeah,
a lot of people love that show. It doesn't surprise me.
It just, you know, I think it just hits a lot of like chords with a lot of people, especially I would say from the age range of like 12, maybe a little bit more than that, to like, you know, your late 20s, early 30s. There's just something within that and the way the musical's portrayed, and the characters are so interesting. And yeah, there's just something about, and I mean, the music is, I love the music. I'm a huge fan. But yeah, there is something about it.
Okay, so and then to really kind of mix it up, because Drew, I know in particular you have a huge love for magic. You also have a bit of a magical background, just to add to the million other things.
I know. I mean, and you know what? The magic thing came out of nowhere as well. That was literally, I think when I was in Winchester, I became friends with a phenomenal magician who literally one year just was like, "Oh, I'm doing a show at the Edinburgh Fringe. We need someone of like US, like, you know, your knowledge of like the technical aspects of, you know, theatre and all that sort of stuff. would you mind coming up? I literally did one fringe, and then God, I did then 6 other fringe after that in Magic. I was on a show called Impossible, which toured around the UK and
amazing show.
Yeah, we did that, and in the West End. I mean, look, Magic, I love it. I was literally like Debbie McGee without the lycra. It was, I was like, I don't know. Basically, my role within it was the assistant. I mean, I love Magic. I love Magic in a technical aspect. When you know how it's done, it's not as enjoyable, but then you enjoy it in a weird way because of the mechanics. It's genius, and I'm very fortunate. Actually, one of my best friends is you know, I'm being biased. He's probably one of the best magicians in the world, but he's literally, his knowledge has like flowed onto me, and I just, I adore the art form. I think the art form is so underrated in a way where it's just so it's even more clever when you know how it's done, you know. But yeah, I mean,
well, that's kind of why Penn and Teller had such huge success, because they exposed a lot of what was going on, but did it in a way that kind of went, actually the solution or the methodology is almost more entertaining than the outcome of the trick. And it's just,
I mean, I think so. I mean, that's the other thing as well. Penn and Teller did it. There was also, I don't know if you both remember, did you ever watch The Masked Magician?
Masked Magician,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, and you know, these people, like even now, Penn and Teller, they are not part of the Magic Circle. They would never be allowed to be part of the Magic Circle, because it's just a rule they have where if you expose tricks, then you're exposing the art form.
Yeah.
And you know, but it was such interesting TV. And then most of the time, as audience members, we go, what? That's how it's done? No, really? That simple?
It is so simple. It is. I mean, I 2 instances recently. I did a little show on Monday evening, and I do an escape. I used to do the show in Covent Garden in the Piazza, and escape from a set of handcuffs with my head in a bucket of water. I know how that's done, and I know how I did the head in the water, and that was my little, you know. And I was taught by someone how to do the trick, and then they said, right, now you've got to go away. You know how to do it. You know the gag. Now you've got to go away and make a show. You've got to present it now in you know, you've got to give all the misdirection. I used to do the straitjacket escape as well, and again, that was without a gagged jacket. I used to do it with a proper straitjacket, you know.
Right, yeah. I didn't know you. Wow, I didn't know you did that. So you do the Busking area by Covent Garden, did you?
I did the Piazza for a short time. I worked with a couple of guys. We developed a series of shows. And they were 2 very, very great, very good street performers. And I was asked to come in and join the show. We went up to Edinburgh, and to earn money while we were up there and back the show, I learned how to be a street performer and learned how to do this, and did my training in Covent Garden for 6 months. Went up to Edinburgh. We did our show, and then during the day we were doing the street stuff. But I went to a little film screening, which we discussed a couple of weeks ago on here. And the screening was at the Magic Circle, and I'd never been there before. And I was sitting in the bar with one of the guys, and it was all about magic. I played a washed up magician, and I had to do a couple of tricks in the filming. And I was taught these, and the guy that taught me was there, and he just sat down, and for an hour I was in heaven, because he just said, give me that there. And he'd take a card, and it would go, and it's something, you know, my pen disappeared, and you know, things would, and it was non-stop, and I was like a 6-year-old, you know, and it doesn't matter how big those, you know, I mean, watching David Copperfield fly and David Blaine in his box or whatever, but a guy who's got a coin and I'm holding it and it suddenly isn't there, to me, mate, you can't beat that. Love that.
I mean, the Magic Circle, I've only ever been to the Magic Circle once, and that was literally to help a friend tech a show. And actually, weirdly, Teller was a guest. He wasn't allowed to do anything else but just be a guest. It was, but I mean, the building is remarkable. I mean,
extraordinary.
It's extraordinary. They have like a little museum. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but they have a little museum down below, which basically has like all these old antique tricks and stuff. They got that famous spiral staircase, which when you look down, you see the Magic Circle on the floor. I mean, it's a beautiful venue, and as I say, even has its own little theatre, which is even sweeter. But yeah, it's an interesting place. I mean, magic in general is just an interesting an interesting thing. And most magicians are all interesting. They're all different, and what's the kind word? Bizarre, but in a cool way.
Unique.
Yeah. Unique. That's
Unique.
the word.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
let's
word.
say unique.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit left out. I haven't got much of a background in magic, but I'm wondering, is there like, like when you go to a theme park, there's like a height requirement to go on a ride. Is this why I'm not? Because I wouldn't pass under the same sort of bars that you two would. I mean, I'm being as polite as I can.
Fit in a box. Is that because
that's
we fit in
it.
a box and get sawn in half?
Yeah.
No. I mean, we could probably do a trick somehow, the three of us, because I could be the before, and each of you could be half of afterwards. But anyway,
I go through this every week, Sam. You have to. I mean, I'm used to it now. Don't take it personally. It's not a heightist thing.
I'm just being me. But
I know.
So an incredible background where you've managed to jump all over the place. Do you have, and I've sort of asked about what you'd like to produce or what you'd like to direct or what you'd like to be involved in, but do you have, for want of a better phrase, a game plan? Is there somewhere you want to be? Is there something that, because you said you didn't really set out to do directing, you were a performer initially, but then that came about, and then this management has come about, and you're involved in so many different things. Do you have kind of a plan, or do you have somewhere you'd like to be maybe in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, do you know, I've been really strict with myself regarding like a plan and where I want to be. I mean, this job, the general manager thing came kind of out of nowhere as well. Because I've done a lot of associate producing, all that sort of stuff. And actually the job itself came from me managing a concert, which DLAP. So DLAP is Daniel Looney, Adam Paulden. Those two guys were also co-producing a concert that I was working on, which is actually Cheetah Rivera, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And basically from doing that job, they were like, look, we're actually looking for a full-time general manager. Would you be up for it? And I was like, I mean, I've never really thought about the job role as a whole, but I mean, I've learned an incredible amount. And as far as a plan goes, I've always said to myself, I always want to be a producer. I always want to run my production company, my own production company. So I'm basically, if the timing is right, I would probably do that. That's where I would want to be, is I would want to run my own production company. And I would be the person that chooses the shows and all the things I want to work on. But the thing is, with this company that I'm with now, it's developing so well and so good. I feel like I never want to leave it. So as the plan goes, I don't know. I have options that I can do. It just depends on where this company goes, because this company is so fresh. It's so exciting. The thing is, my bosses are younger than me. So, it's like, well, I say one of them is, but yeah, it's just, there's something that's very fiery about this company. And I can see it going places and places, and, hopefully we'll be hitting Olivier Awards and Tony Awards even more so. I mean, they have won an Olivier Award because we were co-producing a company, which has also just done well on the Tonys again this year. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's two options. That's all I'm going to say.
Keep them open. That's it. Just keep them open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think from what you're saying is that, I mean, it's a very interesting time to be in the industry, because I think, I mean, yeah, we're all sort of slightly scared and sat there going, what the hell is going to happen? And then we all went, okay, we're going to just have to let things happen. But I think it's actually been, and we've said this before, Sam and I, that it's been good for the industry to have a little bit of a shake-up, to maybe lose a little bit of the deadwood and the comfort, and take a look and go, okay, we have to make things work now. We have to be, better at doing what we do. So I think, I think to be where you are now with an exciting new company, I mean, it can only get better for you. It can only get better for the industry. So it's good to be in that position where the industry is now, I think.
Yeah, and I think if you go back as well, like your Camax, your Sonia Friedman, I mean, they were youngsters as well. And they did something right. And they brought something at that time to the industry, something completely different. And I think it's happening again now. I think the new wave of producers, young producers coming in, and just, you know, shaking things up a bit, making things a bit more exciting, a bit more innovative, you know, be a bit more daring, more risk taking, and I'm hoping that will prevail. And I'm hoping that, you know, in the next 10 years, you know, there will be this sea of new producers that will be taking over.
And of course, you'll be one of them.
Oh, fingers crossed. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be head of them all at that point. You'll have your own like group of producers.
Well, that's the whole plan. Is the team. You know, I mean, the thing is, when I joined the team at DLAP, there was 3 of them. There was 2 execs and an associate producer. I came on as a general manager. We now have an assistant general. I have an assistant general manager. We have an accountant. We have a legal team. We have a production assistant. You know, it's just like, and this is in the space of a couple of years, because I didn't really count when, you know, that unfortunate event happened. I kind of wiped out a couple of years, basically. So, you know, in the space of 2 years, the company's growing fast, but in a steady manner, nothing too crazy, manageable.
Generally manageable.
Yeah, generally manageable.
Manageable.
See what I did there? All the way through
about I see you did there. I just feel like I've got a glare on my. I'm going to just turn a little bit.
Oh, you're looking beautiful.
I'm absolutely roasting. It's baking. At London, it's like 28 degrees.
Yeah.
It's been warm, which doesn't help if you're spending a lot of time in a theatre during the day or doing anything like that, because aircon's never on unless there's a bloody performance. They're just like, no, you don't need it. You created it.
Don't need it. Exactly. I know. I mean, the thing is, though, have you been to the Arts Theatre? It is like a sweatbox.
Oh, yeah.
It is an absolute sweatbox. I mean, it's one of those, like, they've actually got aircon now, but the aircon is so loud, they can't have it on during the show, only in the loud parts. So, like, we now figured out, the company have done an amazing job. Our company stage manager, DSM, basically now are in control of the aircon. So when it comes to the loud parts in the show where the music's really loud, they whack on the aircon, blast it through, and then turn it off when it's the quiet bits. It's hilarious.
It's like all timed perfectly.
Timed perfectly, yeah. They even, like, you know, as a DSM, they have a cue, you know, the cue sheet of like cueing lights and stuff. She just goes, "Okay, cue aircon."
I just want that's got to be a new one, isn't it? Yeah. Go aircon. Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Brilliant.
Now, we hugely appreciate the time you've given to join us. Know how incredibly busy you are, what with 3 shows managing at the moment and others coming up as well. So we will have to let you run on, but we are going to do what we always do with our guests. And I know you've been dreading this because you were saying that you've got many things you could talk about, but you're not sure which ones you should. We always do ask our guests if they would give us an amazing anecdote or something unusual or something interesting, or just a story from their career or something that they've experienced during it that just will shock, surprise, or entertain. So can you do that? Have you had enough prep time now?
Oh God, and there's so many things that I want to say. The thing is, I know I have to be it's quite like case sensitive in regarding like I have to kind of like protect the people that I'm obviously talking about. I mean, I do have one funny story, actually, which actually came back to me whilst I was talking to Sam, because what people don't know is that, obviously, I met Sam many years ago now.
Yeah.
And I directed Sam in a musical called The Full Monty.
It has been mentioned a few times on the pod,
It has been mentioned
once or twice.
But I don't know whether this story has been said, but I only remembered this. I don't know why, but it just came flooding back to me since being on this call with you guys. So there's a scene where Sam and his character, which I can't even remember, where basically they asked to see everything. And Sam basically is in a dressing gown and he stands up and he opens up his dressing gown and he's supposedly showing the panel his piece. And what I hadn't known, because the cast literally then couldn't stop laughing, was I didn't realize that Sam had a picture of my face on his piece staring at the panel. So I didn't realize as he pulled back his dressing gown, there was a picture of my face on the downstairs region.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That was a funny story. And obviously I didn't know. So I was there and I was like, what is going on here? Why is everyone laughing? And all of a sudden Sam said, I can't stop laughing. He turned around and I saw it.
Yeah. So that was... But I will, and not to correct you, but I will up the ante slightly. In that the guys didn't know either.
No, they didn't. No,
and it was during our matinee show. It wasn't in rehearsal.
Oh my god, it was a show.
Yes. So it was our matinee. It was the Saturday matinee. It's not tradition, and it's not what always happens, but quite often you'll find that penultimate shows, people go a little bit mad. They do have a little bit more fun, not at the audience's expense. The audience would never know, really. But you become very comfortable with a show, and you sort of go, right, I want to just tweak it a tad. So I'd made the decision. So in rehearsal, I'd had a dressing gown on, but when it came to the performance itself, what I was supposed to do was stand facing away from the audience and basically pull down jeans and boxer shorts.
Oh, sorry, that's it. Yes, that's what happened. Yes.
So as far as the audience can see, I'm stood there with a t-shirt on and butt naked from the waist down. Now, we had a very sort of cleverly engineered, basically a backless G-string, which held me all in, so I wasn't completely exposing myself. But from behind, you couldn't see the sort of waistband that held it in. But I'd got a picture of your lovely face, Sam, and I'd safety pinned it to said pouch,
G-string.
shall we call it?
Yeah, pouch. Yeah.
Yes, it was in the matinee, and the guys were not aware, so it was a little bit of a surprise for them as well.
I forgot about it too. For some reason, it just came back to me. I was like, hold on a second. I remember something happened. I think what I got confused then, I was mixing up two scenarios. I was mixing up what happened on Friends with Joey and a blooper, and then I was like, hold on a second. And then I was like, but I remember you doing that. But yes, that's even worse. You did it in the show with your bare ass to the audience, not knowing my face was on the end of your penis.
Well, and there we go. Yeah,
and there you have it.
I mean, that is probably the best way we could possibly end this, with your face on my penis.
There we go. Done. There we go. I'm so glad I remembered that now.
Yeah.
So am I.
Sam, honestly, it has been such a joy having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. You. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, and just all the best with everything. I mean, you've got some incredible stuff coming up. As always, we'll do our best to come and see some stuff. But
yes,
tickets are selling so fast, we're going to struggle. But anyone out there listening or watching, you just go see Rock of Ages, go see Bonnie and Clyde if you can manage to get a ticket, and keep your eyes out for Jeremy Jordan and everything else that's coming up as well. Just some really exciting stuff. Sam, thank you so much, mate.
Amazing.
I'll speak to you.
Lovely.
Soon. It's
lovely.
Great.
Thanks, gents. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, we say it every week, and I'm going to say it again, Sam, another lovely guest. How lucky are we?
Well, we are just blessed, aren't we? And Sam genuinely is an amazing guy, hugely talented. I mean, pay no attention to the fact that he said jack of all trades, master of none. He's had such a varied career. I think it only makes sense that he's been so successful, being that he's able to bring so many different elements to what he does. And DLAP are very lucky to have him because he's very good, very good.
Very good, and very good at opening that side of the industry up to us. Letting us see what he's actually part of and creating all the time. I mean, it's lovely to see stuff that they got running, but also a little peek behind the curtains into what's coming up, which was a nice little insight for us.
Yeah. And I mean, there are certain insights that perhaps I'm not so keen that he revealed. I mean, me putting a picture of his face in certain areas probably isn't something that I would have admitted. But anyway, it's always nice to hear that your director remembers you for the things you shouldn't have been doing rather than the things you should.
Well, they say it pays to advertise. Obviously, gives a whole new meaning to the phrase headshot. But I'm saying nothing after that.
God, Drew, really? I mean, we've just alienated half the audience now.
Had to go there. The
ones that haven't already buggered off have now gone, no, that's it, drawing a line now. I can cope with a man's face being safety pinned to another man's jockstrap, but dad jokes, no, that is it. That's enough. But no, a huge thanks to Sam, a really wonderful guest. And
great things.
Wish him all the best with everything he's got coming up, and I cannot say enough how you should definitely go and see any of the shows that he's producing or working on. Just some amazing stuff coming, and brilliant that, as he say, that the West End is opening back up, and that touring is sort of getting back to where it needs to be, albeit slowly, but theatre is alive and kicking, and we've come out the other side, and things are just getting better, thankfully. That
was very encouraging to hear. It really was. And as you say, so much good stuff in the future. But I'm going to use that as a little Drewling Samantics segue and say, what have you got coming up in the future, Sam? What have you got coming up over the next week?
Well, and people may now think that we're a broken record, mate, because what I'm going to say is, in a bit, I'm going to have to leave because I've got to join my pint-sized partner in crime, because we're doing another show together.
Of course we are. Yeah.
In fact, a crazy weekend, this one. I've got 3 shows in a row, 2 of which I get to spend with you.
With me, yeah.
But looking further ahead than that, onto the rest of next week, I've got a bit more voiceover work to do. I've got some recordings and stuff that I've got to complete, excuse me, and work on. And then another immersive show next weekend. So not this weekend, next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whereas you're incredibly busy this coming week, I believe.
I'm looking forward to next week. The coming week is full with the first day's rehearsals of start midweek of One Man Two Governors in Brighton for the Brighton Open Air Theatre. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I've been cramming like mad, and there's still some more to go, because it's a very, very fast-paced, very wordy, very physical piece, but very wordy piece as well. The verbal comedy, you've got to be right on top of it. So I've got plenty of, hopefully, a good lot of work done. But I've got a little bit of voiceover work to do myself, and then at the following weekend, a little bit of immersive theatre as well. So it's a very busy week for me. But let's do more. Let's do more.
Do you know what we the word busy often can be looked at in a negative way. Work was busy or whatever. But
yeah.
You know what? We are in that very small minority that are lucky enough to be able to say, when we're busy, we're even happier than when we're not. So
absolutely, it's
And on that note, mate, I shall raise I'm still on it.
You're still on the water, aren't you?
Still on the water, yes. But I shall raise my glass to you and say, what a wonderful week with a brilliant guest. And here's to what we've got to come. Have a good one, mate.
And you. See you in a few hours.
Yeah. See you in a bit. Everyone else, see you next time.
See you next week.
Bye. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app.
Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.